Hello and thank you for watching. This is STSC back again with LEGO Transformers, Dispatch, and Crowd Control. These two are actually older mocks that I built a couple years back. At the time, I was still mostly building large minifigure scale Transformers, so when I did build smaller Transformers, it was usually as a break between the larger figures. And as such, the builds usually ended up being pretty simplistic. But I still wanted to show these two in a video, and since they were designed to be partners, I figured, hey, put them in the same video together. But now it's time to take a closer individual look, so let's focus on Dispatch. Dispatch's car mode ended up looking a little bit uneven. Unfortunately, near the side, the transformation just doesn't really clean up all that well. There's this gap in the center, and this fender section is left at a bit of an angle, and you have this kind of awkward police light hanging over the actual headlight here, which is kind of a weird look. Looking at the front, I think the bumper is kind of awkward too. There's just not a lot of flow with these exposed joints here. And in general, I don't think the entire mode has all that much flow to it. The back is probably the cleanest part of the car, as everything fits together nice and smoothly. All in all, while I don't hate this mode, I definitely don't think it holds up compared to the modern carformers I build. Now on to Crowd Control, who's kind of the complete opposite to Dispatch. His van mode is super clean and in my opinion really satisfying. Due to its blocky nature, everything just fits together really well, and you just have this very clean, very nice looking police van. And I don't know, I just really like how it looks. On the front here, you can see a transformation joint that represents a ram bar. I want to say this was inspired by IX Reload IX's Barricade. The only thing that kind of bothers me about this mode is how far back the rear axle is. I feel like it should probably be a stud forward, though it's never really bugged me enough to try and modify it. In the end, I'm still really satisfied with this van mode. For size comparison, here we have a minifigure and a movie sideswipe. That's all there is to say about the vehicle modes, so now it's time to transform. And here we have Dispatch and Crowd Control in their robot modes. And I think these are the modes where the simplicity really shows. Nowadays, I feel like these two are a little bit too ordinary. They don't really have much going on to define them as characters. That's not to say I don't enjoy how they look. Personally, I still enjoy them, which is why I'm showing them here. I just don't think they're quite up to par compared to my usual creations nowadays. But again, let's look at them individually, starting with Dispatch. I think Dispatch has the more boring of the two robot modes. I think this was one of, if not the first carbots I designed at this scale, and I think it really shows. Turning her around, you can see what was actually the original chest. I was going to give her this kind of windshield chest here, but I didn't really like how it looked, and I felt that what was originally the back actually looks a little bit better. Probably my favorite part of the build is how the rear bumper and the rear windshield kind of create the look of almost like a G1 Bumblebee or Cliffjumper chest, like it's the top of the car that's shrunk down to be her chest section. Looking at the legs, you'll see that the kind of awkward sloped lights from the hood are actually her toes, which is why they had to be there in the first place. And unfortunately, there isn't really much articulation here. The head can rotate, and you get a universal joint at the shoulder, along with a hinge at the elbow. But from the waist down, all there is outward joints and a knee, but there's no forward, so you can't really put her into any kind of poses, unfortunately. And now on to crowd control, who I definitely think is the more interesting of the two. And crowd control kind of has a onslaught vibe to me. I think it's the doors on his back emulating the silhouette of Onslaught's cannons. One thing you might notice is that he doesn't actually have any hands, instead having these cylinders here to represent some kind of cannon. Something I really like about this guy is how clean the color separation is. He's got the white upper body with the black head and boots, and then his midsection is light gray, like it's the least armored part of him. Or maybe he's just wearing gray shorts. And looking at him from behind, there's not much to see. Now, unfortunately, Crowd Control's articulation is even more limited than his partner's. His head is not actually able to look left or right, only kind of up a little bit. Then his shoulders are just pivots outwards. They cannot go forward and back. His elbows have two joints, which pretty much just allow him to get a 90-degree bend. You can kind of fiddle with his little cannons here, but you're not really going to get much use out of that. Then from the waist down, he's got the same situation as Crowd Control, which is hips that go out, but not forward, and knees that are kind of useless. For a size comparison, here we have a minifigure. And movie side swipe. While I definitely don't think these two hold up against my modern builds, I still think they're fun little toys. And as I think I've probably made clear throughout the video, I definitely prefer Crowd Control of the two. But that's all I have to say about them, so I'll see you next time.